All right, shalom to the 12 scattered abroad. Hope that everyone's doing well. Today's lesson is the kingdom takes work and it starts with you. So our first one on scriptures we are going to is Philippians chapter 3. And I want you to read verses 11 through 14 straight through first.
It's the book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse 11. If by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead.
Read on.
Not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after. If that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Hamashiach, Yahushua.
Read it on through to verse 14 for me.
Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of the Most High in Yahushua Hamashiach.
So if you aren't familiar with Paul speaks in a very poetic way. Like you really have to slow down and take your time dealing with Paul's letter, because it is vital information in every single word, every single jot, every single tittle that he wrote. So let us break down verse 11 first. Read that one more time.
Book of Philippians chapter 3 and verse 11. If by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead.
So first, we have to ask, what is the resurrection of the dead? Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 22, start at verse 31.
The book of Matthew chapter 22 and verse 31. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have ye not read that which was spoken unto you by the Most High, saying?
So first off, we have to know that Paul is speaking to those that the Most High spoke to first, saying this. Read on.
Verse 32. I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living.
So we have established that he is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. Cool. From the various beautiful lessons brought out, we already know who the Israelites are. Cool. Reading on into this verse, it says that God isn't the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, start at verse 1.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, and verse 1. The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones.
So for those who aren't familiar here, this chapter here is a very common chapter, speaking of the valley of dry bones. We have done on lessons on that, breaking it down. Feel free to go back there. Read on.
Verse 2. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry.
Many dry bones. Read on.
Verse 3, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest.
Can these bones live? Well, let's find out how they live. Read on.
Verse 4, and he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Most High.
This is very, very important here. The prophesying to these dry bones, those who aren't on spiritually woke yet, they must hear the word of the Lord first. And this is part of your work to get to the kingdom. And it starts first by you hearing. That's very, very vital. Let's move on to the book of Romans chapter 10, verse 17.
It's the book of Romans chapter 10 and verse 17. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High.
But you have to hear a specific thing. You can't listen to T.D. Jakes or Yahweh ben Yahweh or anyone else coming from their own belly. You have to hear the word of God, because hearing increases faith. Now, the second step here is doing what the word says. Let's get the book of James, chapter 1, start at verse 22.
The book of James, chapter 1 and verse 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
Because just hearing this word isn't gonna profit you anything. If I heard that Coca-Cola's hiring, just by me hearing doesn't mean that I am going to get that job. I have to put in the work. I got to fill the application out. I got to put my suit and tie on for interview and all of that else to get the job. The same thing applies here. You cannot just hear the word. You have to do what the word actually says. Read on.
Verse 23. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
So this is like you looking into a mirror. For if any be a hearer and not a doer, it is like you are looking at a reflection of you. Read on.
Verse 24. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was.
You done forgot who you are, because the only thing that you did was hear. You didn't put in the work to increase what that hearing is meant for you to understand. You have to put in the work in order to fully hear. Because let's say if I had a son and I told him to take out trash. Yeah, he didn't heard me, but if he doesn't do it, there are repercussions coming because he didn't carry out the action of those words. Give me verse 25.
Verse 25. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of work, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
But the doers are blessed in their deed, because they heard and they did. The kingdom takes work, and it starts with you hearing and doing what the word says. Let's jump back to Philippians. Read me verse 11 one more time.
The book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse 11. if by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead.
So Paul saying that even him making it to the kingdom isn't a sure thing. If by any means I might. So Paul is already letting you know that there is more than just saying, I believe in Christ and now I'm saved. There's way more to it. And it's way more than you just doing the law. You cannot have faith without law, and you can't have law without faith. And this is coming from one of the most real deal Israelites you have ever seen. But let's prove it. Let's get the book of Philippians chapter 3, start at verse 4.
This book of Philippians chapter 3 and verse 4. Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any man thinketh that he hath whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more.
So Paul saying, so if any man thinks that they are simply saved by the actions of the law, I trust in the law more than you do. I'm a real deal Israelite. Read on.
Verse 5, circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching the law of Pharisee.
This is Paul talking that talk. This is Paul letting you know, hey, I'm not new to it. I'm true to it. I've been doing this. I'm a real deal Israelite. I was circumcised on the right day. I'm telling you the tribe that I'm from, and I'm telling you that my occupation is in the law. So if you solely trust in the law by itself, I trust way more than you. Read on.
Verse 6, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless.
Hey, try me, Paul saying to these law only, or these quote unquote Old Testament only cats. Paul is saying, if you think that you were doing it, I'm doing it better. But continuing on with the lesson, let's get Philippians chapter 3 and verse 12. Right?
The book of Philippians chapter 3 and verse 12. Not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Hamashiach Yahushai.
So Paul is reinstating the overall fact that I'm not saved yet. That not as though I had already gotten what I'm seeking, or not that I was already perfect, but I'm following that I may get what I seek for. So let's prove that. Let's get the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13.
The book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved.
But I thought we are saved now. There are many people walking around saying, oh, I'm saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. I was saved in 2001. I've been doing this 21 years, and you can't tell me what being saved is because I've been it. What did Matthew 24 and verse 13 say? One more time.
Verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
You have to endure to the end in order to be saved. It does not stop here. It does not stop by you putting on fringes for five years and then saying, oh, I've been doing that. This ain't talking about I haven't eaten pork in 15 years and I'm gonna just eat what I want now. No, you have to endure to the very, very end. Let's get the book of Matthew chapter 10, verse 22.
The book of Matthew chapter 10 and verse 22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved.
So if it's people not hating you for keeping the Most High's ways, are you truly enduring? Are you truly doing the works and keeping faith? Because this scripture says that people are gonna hate you, but you still have to keep pushing to the very, very end, because he that endureth to the end shall be saved. All right, let's get the book of Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 3.
The book of Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 3, and it reads, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
Because if you cleave to the Most High, meaning that you are keeping the faith and the works, and you don't leave from it, meaning stopping, you will be increased at your end. And what is that increase there? Being saved. You have to endure to the end in order to be saved. Because Paul is after the same thing that we are, the kingdom. He wants the same thing that the people on this call, that the people that will see this video wants, the same thing, the kingdom. All right, let's go back to Philippians and let's get 3 and 13.
It's the book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse 13. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before.
So this is Paul once more stating that the fact that he hasn't already taken hold of the kingdom, but he is putting away the old man and he's growing to the new man, because he is reaching forth to the things which are before him, the kingdom, because the kingdom takes work. Where was I going with that? Let's go to the book of, let's see, give me just a second. Salakia, I need to move this. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's get the book of Ephesians chapter 4, start at verse 22.
The book of Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 22, and it reads, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust.
So we have to put off that old man, and that starts with the individual. You have to take your part in us actually getting this kingdom as a whole. But this old man is on a fallen victim to deceitful lust, right? So the Most High isn't dealing with the lustful old man, period. Let's get the book of Psalms chapter 81, start at verse 11.
It's the book of Psalms chapter 81 and verse 11. But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me.
Read.
So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels.
They walk in their own counsels. This isn't a kingdom mindset here, folks. How can you walk in your own counsel, but yet you want to go to a kingdom which is ruled by the Most High and his Son? They didn't ask you, well, what do you think that these stones should go, or how many gates should be here, and what trees should we plant in this field? They're not asking you. They're not walking in the counsels of wicked men, lustful men. The kingdom isn't for lustful men. Let's get the book of First Kings, chapter 12, start at verse 6.
The book of First Kings, chapter 12 and verse 6. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer this people?
Read on.
And they spoke unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them and answer them and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. So
this is wise counsel to King Rehoboam, given by the elders to do right. Just to sum up that. But let's see what Rehoboam did. Read on.
Verse 8. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him.
He was looking for yes men, or in this case, con men. And it's funny how those words on a play. He forsook wise counsel. You cannot do this if you have a kingdom mindset, because you are supposed to have a certain decorum as a king. And we all walk around saying, what's up, king, and all of that. This is a pure example of what not to do. Read on.
Verse 9. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people, who spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter?
So Rehoboam talking to his friends, saying, man, what should I say to our folks? They don't want to talking about this burden that we have is too rough. What should we do? This is what Rehoboam is seeking, quote unquote, counsel on. Read on.
Verse 10. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but thou made it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins.
And that is disrespectful. He is talking straight trash to these folks, to our people, the same people that we are supposed to be in the kingdom with. Read on.
Verse 11. And now whereas my father did lay you with heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions.
So he did the complete opposite of what the elders told him, and he became worse. But let's see what that led to. Skip down to verse 19.
Done. Verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day.
And it causes problems. This is a prime example of quote unquote black on black crime. We are fighting. We are the greatest people ever. We just got free from Egypt. We got our kingdom set up, and now we are rebelling against one another. Read on.
Verse 20. And it came to pass when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
So now the kingdom split. Division. Read on.
And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon.
And now we are fighting, and now we are divided, and we're going against Genesis 49:1. We're going against Zephaniah 2:1. And how will you have a kingdom mindset period if all of the tribes are supposed to be together? This is a prime example of hating your brother, which leads us to our next verse. Leviticus chapter 19, start at verse 17 for me, please.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy brother, and not suffer sin upon him.
Don't hate your brother. Rebuke him when he is going out so that he does not sin. Read on.
Verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
So you have to love your neighbor, which is the children of your people. That is a direct commandment that you have to love. But when you split up, rebel, fight, all of this, and you also not correcting your brother when he is sinning. This starts on the individual level. The kingdom takes work, and you first have to start with you showing love to your brother. All right, let's go back to our passage in Ephesians. Start from the top one more time for me at verse 22.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, and verse 22. That ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust.
Read on.
And be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
You have to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. What is the spirit, folks? Let's find out. Book of John, chapter 6, verse 63.
It's the book of John, chapter 6, and verse 63, and it reads, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, and they are life.
So the word is the spirit. So it goes back to the first point. You have to hear. That is the word, and that is the spirit, and you must study this book to know how to get what Paul is speaking of in Philippians. You have to study, because that's the only way that you are going to know that you aren't going off, that you're not sinning, that your faith is constantly being built up. You have to study. The kingdom starts with you doing what you are supposed to do. Let's get the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 15.
The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
You have to rightly divide the word of truth. And the only way you can do that is by studying. And we already know that the word is the spirit. So you have to study to get your spirit right. This is on the individual level. You have to take steps for you individually to even get to be in the kingdom. This is on you individually. Con? All right, let's go back to Ephesians and let's get verse 24.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 4 and verse 24. And that ye put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness.
You got to put on that new man. You can't be the old person that you were. You can't take dung and turn it into a five-course meal. You have to become totally new. And that new man is created in what? Righteousness and true holiness. So the first thing here that you have to ask, what is righteousness? Let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 25.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 25. And it reads, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
So to be in the kingdom, your foundation has to be in the laws, statutes, and commandments, because this is your righteousness. Now, going back into Ephesians 24, we have to find out what is holiness. But you first got to see who is holy. Deuteronomy 7, verse 6.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So first things first, to be holy, you have to be chosen. And you have to be above all people. And this has to be your mindset from the individual level, that you are above all these other nations, period. You are God's chosen people. But who is the thou in this passage here? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7. Well, let us get the proper context here and find out who is being taught to. Let me get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran, Taphel, and Laban, and Hazarah, and Dezahab.
So, in proper context, that thou in Deuteronomy 7:6, that holy people who are separate is clearly the Israelites. Now, we have to find out what makes them holy, what makes them set apart from everyone else. Well, we can find that in the book of Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 45. Bring that out.
The book of Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 45. For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
So the Lord has told Israel that we have to be holy because he is holy. And another point made here, this is the book of Leviticus chapter 11. This is the same place where the Most High commands Israel to be what? Holy. But what other things are shown in this chapter here? You see all of this? This is the dietary law. So you have to follow the dietary law. You have to follow all the laws because this is a commandment from the Most High God to be holy. And we already see in the same book where Paul's writing that the new man is created in righteousness and true holiness. So that should, one, let you know that keeping the dietary law is part of your holiness. And if you keep the dietary law, you must keep the whole law because it's part of your holiness. All right. Now, we are going to finish out Ephesians. Man, great God, true righteousness. All praises to the Most High. So, Paul is looking forward to the end, right? Paul is reaching for that end goal that he already told us. Am I froze? Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Con.
Okay, Con. I don't know why it froze right there. But anyway, Paul is trying to get to the kingdom, right? Because Paul has a kingdom mindset, and he knows that it starts with him doing what he is supposed to do. But to get to that end, you have to know what that end involves. So let's see what the kingdom has in store for us. Revelations 21:12.
The book of Revelations, chapter 21 and verse 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written therein, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
So this city, quote unquote, New Jerusalem, right? It has 12 gates, 12 ways to get into this quote unquote city. And the names on those gates are the names of the children of Israel. So if I have a kingdom mindset, and I know that it starts with me doing what I'm supposed to do, and I see that the only people that can get into this kingdom has to be part of these 12 tribes, guess who I am focusing on, man? The 12 tribes of the children of Israel. This is the same thing that Paul is focusing on. This is the same thing that Paul is trying to attain to. So I'm gonna be like my good brother Paul here, and I am gonna seek out the things that I hopefully can attain to, which is the kingdom. And I know that the kingdom is only for the Israelites. This is very, very plain. Now, let's get Philippians 3 and 14.
The book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse 14. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of the Most High in Yahushua HaMashiach.
So I press forward to the kingdom. I press forward to rulership. I press towards serving. I press towards doing the things that are necessary for me to get to where I want to be. Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 60.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 60. I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments.
Hey, we have to be on it. We can't wait. We can't wait till next year, 10 years down the line, after breakfast, after dinner. No, you make haste. That means doing it now. And I don't know about y'all, but when I was in the so-called Christian church, I always had a thought from my teenage years that I'm just gonna wild out, live life, have frivolous sex, smoke, drink, do all this stuff. And once I hit 40, yeah, I'm going on become a deacon. I'm going on do what I'm supposed to do. That is the most horrible mindset of. Bring that out one more time.
Book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 60. I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments.
You can't wait to do this. You can't wait to study. You cannot wait to keep the commandments. You cannot wait to increase your faith. You cannot wait to do everything within your power from the individual level first to make sure that the calling of your election is sure and that you are pressing towards the mark of the high calling. Let's get the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 9, start at verse 11.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 11. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all.
Hey, look, it don't matter if you fast, slow, rich, poor, doing this, doing that. It does not matter what lot you are given, because time and chance is going to happen to everyone. You may be born into knowing that you are an Israelite and you can still go off. You may find out when you're 22 that you are an Israelite and you can still go off. You may find out when you're 60 years old, 80 years old on your deathbed and you can still go off, or you can take the alternate to that and be born knowing that I'm an Israelite and I got to do what I got to do. You can be 22 and know I'm an Israelite and I got to do what I got to do. You can be 60 and 80 years old on your deathbed and you just now finding out that I am the children of the Most High God and I have certain things laid out that I need to do in order to receive salvation, and you can do them. But that time and that chance happens to everyone, because everyone is gonna know about this before the world ends. Read on.
Verse 12. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them.
Evil can come upon you at any time. So that's why it is important to make haste and delay not to keep the commandments and do what you are supposed to do. Hell, we seeing now. You got COVID vaccine mandates here and there. We see LGBTQRST pride going on, and it's funny because pride cometh before destruction. But we see it. All of this crap is going on every single day. Evil is always around us. Evil's in your TV, evil's on your phone, evil is among you every time you open your eyes for anything. But this is why Paul said, not as though I have already attained, because Paul is speaking from the mindset of, look, I can fall at any time. I can fall at any time. But you know what? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna turn my trying into doing, because you must keep the commandments and the faith to make it to the kingdom, because the kingdom starts with you. All right. Now let's see, how can you better your chances, right? Let's get the book of Second Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14.
It's the book of Second Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14. And it reads, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land.
Boom. So the people that are called by the Most High's name, which is Israel, if they humble themselves and they pray and they seek the Most High, and the biggest thing, if they turn from their wicked ways, evil is around us every single day. You have to stick and move, dodge and duck. You have to get around the evil, because that's the only way that the Most High will hear you and forgive you. You have to take action to do these things, because humbling is an action, prayer is an action, seeking is an action, turning is an action. You need faith and works to make it to this kingdom that is waiting for the very best people who have ever lived. Let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 55, start at verse 6.
It's the book of Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 6. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near.
It's only a short time left. Do what you got to do. Read on.
Verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his ways, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon.
This is how you set yourself separate, holy from other people, turning from your wicked ways. You have to take action. This kingdom starts with you doing what you are supposed to do, point blank, period. Let's get the book of Proverbs chapter 21, verse 21.
The book of Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 21. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, righteousness and honor.
Hey, if you following after the right things, you will find the perfect things that you see. Point blank, period. And let's get the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 2, start at verse 1.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2, and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation.
If you come to serve the Most High God, just know that some things are going to happen. You're going to be placed in situations that will test you, and it's up to you to be ready for it. Read.
Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in thy time of trouble.
Gird up, be ready, be apt to the fight. Read.
Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
Because the only way that you can be increased, the only way that you can get the kingdom, period, is by cleaving to the Most High God. And we already know that the only way that you can love God is by keeping his commandments. Read on.
Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state.
So don't be pouting. Don't be poking your lips out, having the sad face on, but because, oh, you laid on the rent, or your family isn't treating you right, or your spouse is doing this and that. Forget that. Take it on cheerfully and be patient, because in your patience, you possess your soul. You have to take whatever is upon you cheerfully. And that's one more reason why studying is important, because you will have examples like on Job that can truly show you what patience and what trust in the Most High is. You have examples like the Maccabees, who were patient, willing to die for these laws, and they received greater things and got their temple back. And you have the ultimate example in Hamashiach Yahushua, who went through trials and tribulations over and over and over and took everything cheerfully. He didn't complain. He did what he was supposed to do, and he came in this sinful flesh, and he lived perfectly. Read on.
Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
So the same way that gold is melted down to get out all the impurities, the zinc, the iron, the calcium, and whatever else is in it, the same way that it goes through that fire, it is broken down to its weakest form, just so that it can be made solid once or more. That's the same thing that we go through in the furnace of adversity. You are going to go through trials and tribulations, but you have to keep it in the back and the front and the side and the middle of your mind that the kingdom takes work, and it starts with you. And I yield.